Talking with the experts.
In episode 353, Vanja Beric and I discussed the topic of self-belief and why it's important to have self-belief in your business.
Yeah. Look, certainly for any of us that are in business, you know that you have to make decisions all the time, constantly. And if you don't have that firm belief in yourself and that firm grounding of who you are and where you want to go and where you want your business to go, it is very easy to get swayed, to get caught up, in a wave of it all with the, FOMO and things like that. So finding out who you are and where you stand and how every step you take is for yourself and for your purpose, and whether that purpose is serving others, whether that purpose is, whatever it is, knowing that and then taking your steps from that decision making, which can sometimes feel so daunting. Obviously it helps with that because we know the decisions that we made, even if the decision doesn't seem logical at the time.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Let me ask you, how is your self-belief? Our minds limit us when we make decisions to problems based on what we think we can or we can't handle. And the way we interpret any situation is based on our own beliefs. Sometimes we step into our power or run away from it depending on if we believe we can handle it. My next guest, Vanja Beric, will discuss with us how she helps women build up their self-belief so they can experience freedom to be themselves, freedom to find their voice and to use it. Welcome, Vanja, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited to be here.
Terrific. So self-belief and healing should be discussed openly at any time. I understand that. And it's a topic that needs to be discussed honestly. And sometimes being vulnerable is, not everyone's cup of tea. And, they don't really know how to do it without being overwhelmed by the whole process. So tell me how, firstly, you got into helping women with their self-belief. And secondly, how women in business have to have this self-belief to be truthful and authentic.
Yeah. So the way I got into it is through my own struggles, and everybody has their own trauma. Of course, there's levels to trauma, but everybody has experienced something in their life that's been traumatic. Mine has been, I was 5 when a war started in my country. So we were 5 years escaping the war, I guess. And then throughout that period, I had a lot of abuse, and even when I came to Australia. So, there was that point in my life, in my early 20s, where I was like, there was so much side effects and so much stuff from the trauma that I didn't know what to do, where to go. So I seeked counseling, and that's what really helped me. And it didn't just help me heal what I was going through, but it also introduced me to a whole new world, which I didn't know existed. And my parents certainly didn't grow up with it. And this world where you can create anything, you can be anything, this wonderful world filled with freedom. And because one of the things, of course, working through the trauma, and then, we came to the point of, okay, so now I can create whatever I want, but how do I do that? And, there's a lot of self-sabotage. There's a lot of, my own mind telling me I can't do it and things like that. So working through that and building on my own self-belief, and then now being on the other side of it, I see how powerful it is to be here. So I am, that's what I want to do for other people.
Right. That's an interesting journey. And, you know, coming from a war-torn country can't kind of been easy. And there would have been a lot of issues I would imagine that you would have had to live through. So well done to you for coming out the other side so strong.
Thank you.
Vanja, it's how can women, I guess, how do you help women, you know, come into this self-belief and, you know, so they can experience being themselves when we're conditioned to have all these masks and different faces for people.
Yeah. And that's one of the starting points is creating awareness of where we are at and how our mind is conditioned and what are we limited by, and who's limiting us. So just kind of creating an awareness of our life and ourselves. And you know, and sometimes they're very easy to see. Sometimes it's, you know, you're looking at something and you're like, this is bringing me down, or this, you know, and other times it's not so obvious. Sometimes it's subtle things, you know, like society's expectations. And that, you know, I hear so much, you know, I came out of high school, I got my degree, I got married, had my kids. Like, I've done all the things that I was supposed to do, and I'm still not happy. What happened? Like, where's the happiness? And those are the kind of things like, well, who told you that was going to bring you happiness? What, you know, who told you that your happiness is going to come from other people or something on the outside? So really creating that awareness of what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and then building on there. And if there is stuff that needs to be healed, working through it, healing it, and you know, taking it from there, and then starting to build the life that you want. And I know to some people it can seem scary, because to build the life that we want, we have to let go of the life that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself can seem very scary, but we go to that step when you're ready, because you come to this point of you know, you've had enough. You don't want, the only way is forward. There is no more looking backwards. And that's when we start paving different types of bricks and different types of opportunities for you to build the life that you want.
It's very important, I guess, not just women, but men as well, to, you know, break away from society's expectations of what is a normal life. You know, you're right. You know, you go to school, you go to college, you get your degree, you know, you work for a bit, you get married, you have kids, and then, you know, you end up being 50 and you realize, well, where's my life gone and what have I done for myself? And so you know, it has no gender. It's you know, it's a universal thing. So, and finding yourself and you know, being yourself and giving up the shackles of society, it can be a really challenging thing to do.
It can be, absolutely. And you're 100% right. There is no gender. We all have our own struggles, and we all have, it's a different struggle, but it's still a struggle. You know, we're still human. We're still living the human experience. But yeah, letting go of those shackles can be very, very challenging, because it has been programmed into you. You know, it's so deep inside. And when we start changing and we start sort of taking inventory in our life of who in our life is here to help us and build us up, and who is not doing that, people can get very angry, you know, and they can make you feel guilty. And what they are angry about is, I know you as this type of person. I know you as a people pleaser. Now, if you start changing, if you start having your own opinion, if you start having having your own mind, where does that leave me? what do I have to, then I have to change, and I don't want to change. So it's kind of those dynamics, and that's where a lot of guilt tripping and things like that can happen, and which can then take us back to where we are because we feel scared. So really building that foundation is so important.
Yeah, in men it's called midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But isn't it, I know that, when you're going through it, it's a terrible thing that it happens, but at the same time, don't you just find that it's so necessary to happen?
liberating.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it sounds bad, but I feel like it should happen to everyone. There should be that point of where we're like, where has my life been? Like where this, 30, 40, 50 years gone?
Yeah, especially when, finally, you become an empty nester, and your life is your own then. And, I think this is where a lot of children don't understand that their parents have finally, done their duty and brought the children up, and, now they want a life of their own, and start spending the inheritance because, really let's have a life now because I can.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of I don't know whether how you find it with with your audience, but I hear a lot of older generations, and I certainly heard this from my mum and a lot of clients that I work with, older generation, is when they do become an empty nester. Of course, there's the empty home, but there's also the emptiness inside because you have spent 18 years, 20 years, whatever it is, giving everything to 2, 3, one person, and now they no longer need you. Now, they are making their own mistakes, and I guess we kind of sometimes attach our self-worth onto our children. So if they're doing well, then I'm doing well.
Oh yeah, I can vouch for that. Yeah, when my girls left home, I was prepared for them to leave home, but when my son, he was the last to leave. When he left, I was absolutely devastated. Yeah, it was like really traumatic for me, and I really, really felt it a lot, and I cried a lot.
Yeah.
Because it was just because I missed him so much, and he wasn't there to talk to anymore, and it's not like I could just pick up the phone or give him a hug or do something, but it's something that you do get over, but yeah, it's really hard in the beginning.
Yeah, and I'd imagine it would be so, because of course it's such a transition, between the busyness and all of a sudden the stillness.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, I guess getting back to business, in relation to finding yourself, and because we've sort of been talking on a personal level, how can this affect your business by finding yourself, and can it be good for your business or bad for your business?
Yeah. Look, certainly, for any of us that are in business, that you have to make decisions all the time, constantly. And if you don't have that firm belief in yourself and that firm grounding of who you are and where you want to go and where you want your business to go, it is very easy to get swayed, to get caught up, in a wave of it all with the, FOMO and things like that. So finding out who you are and where you stand and how every step you take is for yourself and for your purpose, and whether that purpose is serving others, whether that purpose is, whatever it is, knowing that and then taking your steps from that, that decision making, which can sometimes feel so daunting. Obviously it helps with that, because we know the decisions that we made, even if the decision doesn't seem logical at the time, why you made it, because you're traveling in a direction. If we don't have that sense of self and that sense of direction, we will make decisions based on what other tells us, will get us the result, but we may not want that result. Or if it happens, that, we've just been sold something that doesn't really work. So really understanding who we are is critical to our business, because that's, for our customers, yes, of course, they're buying our product, but they're also buying from us. Chances are, if we're a small business, we're the face of our business.
Mm.
And having that authentic feeling, we all know when we meet someone and they have that energy about them, and they draw you in. They know who they are. They're aware. They feel whole, and you just want to be around them. And that in itself, of course, is an attraction for business and for customers.
Yeah, it's very true. If you've got a bricks and mortar business and you're, selling a product, or you're even selling a service, you can still have a bricks and mortar business to do that. And you're not, cheerful and happy and whatever. People aren't going to come on, because people buy from people. They don't
Yeah.
buy from a business. They buy from a person. So, yeah, if you're not aligned and you're not, there, so to speak, then yeah, you're going to lose clientele pretty quickly, I think.
Yes, and especially in today, because today's world is so competitive, and of course with the adding on top of that the e-commerce market and things like that, you really, as a small business, and you really have to make yourself stand out. And the thing that makes you stand out is you. Because from Amazon, I don't know who the CEO of Amazon is. I don't get to speak to him directly. I don't get to speak to anyone. But if I order from a small business, it's that customer service, and those are the things that we feel. It's connection again. It's creating that connection with the person, even though if I'm just, it's a 5-minute transaction between us, I still feel, that was so great. I love that. I love buying from that person.
Yeah.
But we can't do that if we're feeling exhausted. We can't do that. We can't offer that love if we're feeling exhausted, if we're feeling like we have 100 things, like weighing us down. How can you always, as you say, be in that spirit? And things like finding who you are and taking care of yourselves are critical to a business, to any type of business, any type of person, but especially business. And I think every single person in business will find that out at some point, because you're going to get to burn out at some point.
Yeah, no, I have got that. I've had that, and it's not a pleasant experience, I must say.
No.
And I was doing far too much and not looking after myself and not being true to myself and doing what I needed to do to be able to help others. And
Yeah.
so it becomes like a onerous task, and you think, oh, do I have to do this again today, or do I have to even get out of bed today? So yeah,
Yes.
I do know what that feels like, and it's not very nice at all. So I pre-warn people, do not get burnout, because you will hate it.
Yes, it will. And it will certainly, because, sometimes we get burned out because I can do this. I can just one more thing, this. If I can get one more thing off the list, I'll be good. And that obviously what causes burnout, because it's that ability not to stop. Yeah. And that can, so having someone, help you work through that. And as you said, yourself, it was, you were doing things, but away from your purpose. And that's when burnout causes. Because when we're working towards our purpose, I don't know, it's kind of like an extra energy that we draw from somewhere. And I guess it's from the passion of it.
Yes.
That we are like, okay, you get more done when it comes from passion.
Yes, absolutely. But, I was doing what I love doing. However, I was doing too much of it. And I was getting to bed till 3, and then I'd have to be up early in the morning. So I wasn't getting a lot of sleep, and I had chronic pain. So, the quality of my sleep was terrible. So, sleep and pain don't go together very well. And then having to, be up for, stupid hours of the day, and just, you'll just do this one more thing, and then you find something else, and I'll just do that till I'm finished. And then next time, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and oh my God, I got to be up in 3 hours. So
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's it.
you burn out very quickly, and it's a terrible, because it steals away so much from you. It steals away your confidence. It steals away your self-belief. It steals away everything. It put me back to square one, to where I was before I got all this confidence and stuff to do what I do. And
Yeah.
it's a terrible thing. It really is. And so I don't wish it even on my worst enemy. So
I know, and it could because I hear people talk about burnouts a lot, and as they should, because it is such a, as you say, it takes away your confidence, and because the time, and I find it, because I've been through burnout myself. I find it that it takes so long for me to recover, that it would have been quicker if I just, or more time efficient if I just took the time off, because I'm still where I was had I actually taken the time off, or I'm actually further back now. So taking care of yourself, as any type of person, is, I think should be number one on the list, but taking care of your soul, not just your outside.
absolutely.
Your
Yes, you've got to
soul.
look after the inside too, because
Yes,
happiness comes from inside. It doesn't come from
100%.
all the outside things like money. And money really doesn't make you happy as much as people think it does. It really doesn't.
No.
You can have all the money in the world and still be unhappy. So
Yeah.
Vanya, it's been a pleasure to
Thank
talk to
you.
you. Where can people find you if they want to work with you, or they want to find out a bit more about what you do?
Sure. So on my website, Vanja Beric, VanjaBeric.com. That's the I guess the center of it all, where you can be able to connect to my social media and things like that. You'll be able to also go through there into my Facebook community, and it's targeted at women, and just talking about exactly what we just talked about today. We have challenges in there. I go on there live quite a lot, and we just talk about different things that affect. It is targeted at women, so it affects us women, whether it's motherhood, whether it's business, just relationship, whatever it is. It really is designed to help and uplift and provide service to anyone who needs it.
Lovely. All right. So you can find that at in Facebook. Is it
Yes.
vbc.ww?
Yes.
All right. You'll find her Facebook group there. And you can also find Vanya at vanya.antic.79 on Facebook as well. That would be her personal profile, I would think.
Yeah.
Vanya, have you got any last words that you'd like to share with us today?
I think just what we talked about, going off what we talked about, thinking about today when you're listening this right now, the takeaway is there anything I can do in my life, or starting today, that I can look after myself better? How am I feeling today, or how have I been feeling this week? And is there anything that I can do better for myself?
Yes, that's very important. And to ask that question, it really is. Vanya, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you for having me on. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.